Hi, I'm Lynette Xanders. Today I'm sharing a powerful framework that I use with creative leaders who need a clear and practical way to plan strategically. If planning feels overwhelming or you're stuck in reactive mode, this framework will help you shift into clarity and momentum. I know a lot of my corporate clients do strategic planning, but this framework should also help that. If you do not do strategic planning sessions, I highly recommend it. It's a little bit of planning ahead, right? Just building a plan for your future self. So when I've done strategic planning sessions, facilitated them in past, usually it's with leadership team and some board members. So new people in the conversation. So I think this framework really helps get everyone on that same page, literally. So this framework is a one-page strat plan. And the keys to it are that it pulls forward a little bit of the brand, like the promises that we've made that we need to keep. But it really focuses on how we define success. Used to be a 5-year plan. I think the world changes too fast for that these days. So if you can do a 3-year plan, awesome. If you can just do a 1-year plan, awesome. And even if you have a small company, it's important to do. And I'll tell you why in a minute. So defining future self, what does success look like? What do you want to have happen and how will we know when we get there? And I would go back to my other flywheel and say, what do we want to have happen across all the elements? I mean, most people say I need to make this much money. Okay, great. I want to retain my people and not have to rehire and retrain. That would be a good goal. So these in this framework are called lanes of work. So a lane of work could be people. A lane of work could be new product development. Lane of work could be getting into a new industry. And then it breaks it down into objectives and tactics for those. And this just keeps everybody clear on prioritizing. So it's tricky because there are so many things to do. And it's an editing exercise, right? You can always add things to do, but how do we prioritize? How do we take away some of the things that are less important than the things that are popping up for you? What does success look like? I find that when clients go wrong, it's because they're overly focused on a competitor. I want to beat so-and-so, and whatever they're doing, I want to do better than they do. And you just become in this race that doesn't really mean anything at the end of the day. And you don't really win in the eyes of a customer unless you are meeting customer needs. So if you have not focused on your customer, I highly recommend you do it. It provides all kinds of clarity. People will absolutely tell you what you need to do to win their business and keep their business. I'll give you a quick example of a company that decided to not focus on competitors and focus on customers. It's a Pacific Northwest bank, Umpqua, and they started 20 some years ago and have now grown and sold and made billions of dollars, literally. But when I talked to the CEO, he said, don't do a competitive review because I don't want to be like any other bank. I was like, thank you. Because then you're just fighting over, rates and bits and bytes. But we said, okay, we do need a North Star. So what do you want to be like? What other brand do you want to be like? And we did a little exercise and he said, I want to be like Virgin. I want my bank to be a non-bank. I want it to treat people like humans. I want it to be a gathering point. I want to reinvent the whole category. And that was a fantastic North Star, a noble goal, a definition of success. So then when we backed out the strategic plan, what needed to happen in order to get there? My favorite end to any meeting is who's doing what next by when. And I think this strategic plan is literally a who's doing what next by when. What needs to happen by when gets everybody on that same page to actually make a plan to get things done. We'll know if we're doing it. We'll know if we're not doing it. So if you don't have one of these, what happens is you're just going to have a conversation, and that conversation is going to turn into another conversation that sounds very similar. And then we'll just talk about it ad nauseum, instead of actually taking action and getting things done. So I told you I was going to explain why it was important to write this down, even if it was a 1-year plan for a small company. And it was a study that was done. I think it was Harvard graduates. They wanted to know what percentage of the graduating class had financial goals for themselves. And they found that 10% had financial goals. 90% did not have financial goals. But they found that 3% actually wrote their goals down. And, it was homogenous graduating class at the time. So no big socioeconomic differences or windfalls. So they attributed the difference to just the power of writing down goals. So the 3% that wrote their goals down made more money than the 97% combined. So strategic planning is coming to agreements, but I think there's great power in actually writing it down and documenting it. And that in itself can create some momentum. Great strategy turns vision into action, but action is required. So to explore how I help leaders plan more effectively and actually get things done, visit me at wildalchemy.com.